Good afternoon, fellow FINEX members and guests. Welcome to the second general membership meeting of FINEX for 2021. I'm Ed Francisco, President of Video Capital. I'm a past FINEX President and a past EAFE Chair. Before we officially start the program, I would like to make the following committee announcements on behalf of course, of our hardworking committees. Tomorrow, February 18 at 7 p.m., the Special Projects Committee will sponsor a post-Valentine's show offering the music from movies, a reprise, a tribute to Sean Connery and Audrey Hepburn. On February 23 at 2 p.m., FINEX, through its Good Governance Committee and PNA Grant Thornton, will sponsor a free webinar on the fourth local governance series, Dialogue with Makati City Mayor Abby Binay. On February 24 at 12:30, FINEX, through the Capital Markets Development Committee, together with the Capital Markets Development Council, Securities and Exchange Commission, and Asian Development Bank, will sponsor a free webinar on green, social, sustainable bonds, launching the Philippine Initiative. On February 26 at 5 p.m., the Life Member Subcommittee will host its first virtual get-together. During the sessions, members will give honor to the FINEX 1984 past president, former governor to the central bank, governor of the Central Bank of the Philippines, and Philippine ambassador to the United States, our very own Ambassador Joey Quisha. On March 2 at 2 p.m., the Financial Inclusion Committee will sponsor a free webinar on Beyond Financial Inclusion, the different dimensions of inclusion, with speakers from India, Hong Kong, and Singapore. On March 18 at 10 a.m., the Women in Finance Committee will hold a webinar with the theme Global Leadership at its Best, with Angka CEO Angeline Tam, Daly City, California Mayor Jocelyn Manalo, and UN Women Regional Head of Partnerships, Advocacy and Communications, Isabel Rivera. During the pandemic, FINEX will continue to be relevant by providing you programs that will further your professional development and networking among members. For more information about FINEX's advocacies and programs, you may visit the FINEX website and its various social media accounts. At the end of the program, by the way, 5 FINEX members will win a reusable face mask and scarf. You can see it on your screen right now, from Likhang Maragondon. This face mask was medically tested and was approved by the DOST as community face mask for daily launch. So we will flash the names after the program, so please stay on. Also, we'll be launching a quick survey to seek your suggestions for the future GMMs and webinars. Ladies and gentlemen, to formally open the program, may I call our President, Attorney Francis Lim, to call this meeting to order.
Thank you very much, Ed. Good afternoon, FINEX members and guests. I now call the second general membership meeting of the year to order. Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, Francis.
We can hear you, Francis.
Still good.
Okay, good afternoon, FINEX members and guests. I can now call the second general membership meeting to order.
Thank you. Thank you, President Francis. With that, may I request everybody to join me in prayer and the singing of the national anthem. Start with the invocation. Father God, all glory, honor, and blessing, all blessing, all power and might, all praise and thanksgiving be to you, Abba, Father, to us all. We stand on your word declaring that when we call upon you, you will answer us and be with us in distress. Our deliverer and healer, we seek your protection for our families and all of us, from the scourge of COVID-19 and all manner of disease and affliction. We pray especially for our health workers who tirelessly perform their duties at great risk to themselves. We pray for all of us, co-workers in the business community, that we may perform our task with greater diligence in these difficult times. to serve each other and our country in solidarity and the spirit of social responsibility. We pray for all those in authority in government and the private sector that they may have all wisdom, competence, and strength to lead us and serve through this period of crisis, with special attention to our poor and disadvantaged brethren who are struggling to survive. We pray for reconciliation and peace among Filipinos as we come to better realize our oneness as people in good times and in bad, as a common thread unites us. In the loving name of your Son, Jesus, we pray. Amen. Stand for the national anthem. Once again, may I call the FINEX President Francis Lim for his President's message.
Thank you very much, Ed. Thank you very much, Ed. The Honorable Chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Chair Emil Aquino, other officers and staff from the SEC, friends from the media, my fellow directors and officers of FINEX, our beloved members, good afternoon. Capital market development has been a principal advocacy of FINEX. FINEX, as the co-chair of the Capital Market Development Council, or CMDC, has been one of the prime movers in furthering the advancement of the Philippine capital market to be at par in the region. In 2020, the CMDC approved the 5-year capital markets roadmap, or the blueprint. The blueprint, covering the framework with reference to the National Policy Ambisyon Natin 2040, is in line with the Philippines' aspiration to have a deep, robust, liquid, world-class capital market, which remains to be an aspiration to date. The 4 core areas of the blueprint include equities, fixed income securities, alternative products, and a new one, contractual savings and pension. The blueprint is an ambitious undertaking and will need the collective support of FINEX, the private sector partners, and the government to make it happen. Today, we are very, very privileged and honored to have no less than the Chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Chairman Emil Aquino, to share with us the principal features of the roadmap and his invaluable insights on how the SEC plans to expedite the implementation of the action plans indicated in the blueprint. Thank you, Chair Emil, for gracing this occasion. On our activities, your institute has been very active and busy for the past month. The screen shows you the activities we conducted. Let me highlight some of them. We held the first virtual inaugural meeting and induction ceremonies last January 15 with no less than PSP Governor Benjamin E. Jokno as the inducting officer and keynote speaker. This coincided with our organization's 53rd founding anniversary. Congratulations again to all of us for making it to this day. Thank you to our programs committee led by Director and EVP Uni Perez and Committee Chair Joey Gomez for organizing this inaugural meeting. Number two, we held the National Economic Recovery Forum with NEDA Secretary Carl Henrik Chua, which was attended by members of the FINEX. Thank you to the FINEX Committee and the Good Governance Committee for organizing this attended forum. It was really a delight to see our students join us. Number three, we met with the Council of Past Presidents on January 13. We will actively engage the life members this year. In fact, they agreed to organize the March General Membership Meeting. Thank you to Archit Bartolome for accepting the challenge. Number four, in response to our members' desire for our organization to be more relevant on the national front, we led 50 private sector organizations in urging the swift passage of the GRADE Bill, which seeks, among others, to reduce corporate income tax rates. Subsequently, we issued a public statement thanking Congress for passing the bill. For the information of our members, the reduced corporate income tax rates will take effect as originally planned on July 1, 2020, despite the late enactment of the bill into law. That was one of our requests in our public statement. Thanks to the National Affairs Committee led by Director Toti Bengson and Governor Saiti Tanco, and the Tax and Legal Committee led by Uni Perez and Dick Dubalada for their invaluable help on the matter. It's not easy to get 50 other organizations to join us in this endeavor. Likewise, we issued a public statement against amending the Constitution at this time. We urge Congress to instead pass the economic bills. In our mind, amending the Constitution is not a silver bullet that will make things happen. What is more important is to liberalize our investment environment, and that can be done through the passage of the economic bills that have been pending in Congress. Thanks again to the National Affairs Committee for its guidance. Number six, we attended to the needs of our members for vaccines. And we thank our FINEX member, Joel Consing of ICSI, for accommodating our members' orders for 20,000 doses of Moderna vaccines. Your EVP, Uni, and I continue to attend sessions to get updated on the progress of the acquisition. And we will update you, our members, on the matter. Number seven, we held our first virtual get-together and networking for the year to keep our camaraderie alive among us despite the pandemic. This get-together was primarily organized for our new members who were inducted in 2018 to 2020. Thank you to our membership committee led by Titi Silveda and Kaloy Cervantes for organizing this event. Number eight, we held a forum at the GameStop saga, which has been the talk of the town in the global stock market. Thanks to the Capital Market Development Committee led by Zondy Garcia and Tess Rabolo for this very, very enlightening forum. Lastly, but not the least, the Women in Finance Committee led by Titi Salveta and Terry Bagleo hosted its first classification talk on beauty and beyond, the Mark Beauty Corporation CEO Nikki Tang as resource speaker. We have other activities lined up for you moving forward. The activities were announced at the start of the meeting by former President Ed Francisco and are now and have been flashed on the screen. We urge you, all our members, to check on the schedules and join them. Of special note is our event tomorrow. post-Valentine's Day show offering, organized by the Special Projects Committee, led by our indefatigable Eddie Yap. Please make time for this event, and I guarantee you, you will not regret it. We have started our campaign for this year's year-round membership. We hope that you and your companies will be one of them. The packages include Partner for 2 million pesos all year round, Platinum for 1 million pesos, Diamonds for 750,000, Gold Sponsor for 500,000, and a Bronze or Sponsor for 300,000. The sponsors' benefits were adjusted to adapt to the new normal. We hope that this campaign will help us undertake our ambitious programs for the year and to start to establish a sustainability fund for FINEX to ensure its survival in the worst of times. Most important of all, we're launching a massive recruitment campaign to get in new members this year. We have only 431 regular members today. There will be 82 members eligible for life membership this year who will be exempt from paying annual dues. Coupled with resignations of around 50 members based on historical data, the financial future of our organization is at risk. We have to do something drastic in recruiting new members. Towards this end, your board has approved a resolution requiring each director of FINEX and each committee to bring in at least 5 new members this year. Your board relaxed some of the requirements for new members without sacrificing the quality of our membership. The details of the campaign will be announced soon through a circular. I appeal to all of you, our members, to invite your friends and colleagues to join our prestigious organization. In closing, your board and I truly appreciate your continuing support, and we fervently hope for an all-out support this year. Mabuhay ang FINEX at maraming salamat sa lahat.
Thank you, President Francis. We certainly look forward to all these programs and our committee chairs and directors have been preparing. I also hope that our members will support this drive to recruit new members given the dwindling number of regular members. At this point, I would like to call the chairman of the membership committee, Mr. Caloy Cervantes, to introduce the new members. Caloy.
Good morning, everyone. We will now induct the 40 new members of FINEX. I will call on the following by name, company position, company, and current FINEX member sponsor. First one will be Carlo B. Nazareno, SVP, Head of Cash Management Service, Transactional Banking Group of BDO Unibank, Inc., sponsored by Edmundo S. Soriano. Could you flash their video, please? Next is Deodar Lovell C. Bautista, Vice President and Corporate Treasurer, Cocogen Insurance, sponsored by Francisco Ed Lim. Next is Melina Concha, Head of Wholesale Banking, HSBC Philippines, sponsored by Cory Purisima. Next is Alan P. Quijano, SVP for Corporate Planning and Development and Chief of Staff to the President and CEO, St. Luke's Medical Center, Inc., sponsored by Michael Arcatomy H. Gorin. Next is Ryan E. Cabello, Tax Partner, RG Manabat and Company, sponsored by Michael Arcatomy H. Gorin. Parang honor student si Michael. And then next is Dindo Marco Dioso, Audit Partner of RG Manabat and Company, sponsored by Michael Arcatomy H. Gorin. The next is Christopher M. Ferrareza, Partner, Punong Bayan and Araulio, sponsored by Maria Victoria C. Españo. Next is John B. Balse, Senior Managing Director, FTI Consulting Philippines, Inc., sponsored by Michael Arcatomi H. Gurin. The next is Michelle Dominic Esguerra, AGM Finance, AVP of Leslie Corporation, sponsored by Maria Victoria C. Españo and Raymond C. Berja. The next is Monette S. Ramos, Chief Financial Officer of IBM Philippines, Inc., sponsored by Romel S. Silva. The next is Dennis O. Valdez, President, Cebuana Huilier Rural Bank, sponsored by Olivia Joy Manzano. The next is Rina Lorena R. Manuel, FVP, Group Head for Wireless Controllership, Smart Communications, Inc., sponsored by Eleanor Roque. The next is Erwin O. Avante, Chief Finance Officer, Energy Development Corporation, sponsored by Wilson P. Tan. And finally, we have Melinda Q. Cabase, Corporate Treasurer, Chief Accounting and Statutory Regulatory Officer, Converge ICT Solutions, Inc., sponsored by Francisco Ed Lim. Okay, so to add solemnity to the occasion, may I request all members to please open your camera, and may I call on our President Francisco Ed Lim for their oath of membership. Thank you.
Okay. Can you raise your right hand, please? I state your name.
I, Carlo Garcia,
Having been accepted as a member of the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines,
having been accepted as a member of the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my ability
that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my ability
my duties and responsibilities
my duties and responsibilities
in the pursuit of its goals and objectives,
in the pursuit of its goals and objectives,
that I will protect and uphold its constitution and bylaws,
that I will protect, uphold its constitution and bylaws,
that I will abide by its code of ethics,
that I will abide
by its code of ethics,
that I will observe the highest professional, moral, and ethical standards,
that I will observe the highest professional, moral,
and
ethical
standards,
and that I voluntarily impose this obligation upon myself
and that I voluntarily impose this obligation upon myself
without mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
without
mental
reservation or
reservation.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Once again, welcome to our new members. At this juncture, let me introduce our guest of honor and speaker to today's GMM. Emilio Benito Aquino is the first CPA lawyer appointed as chairperson and CEO of the Securities and Exchange Commission. He assumed office last June 7, 2018. He was earlier appointed as SEC Commissioner on December 2, 2016. After a successful long decade practice as a CPA lawyer, he returned to the SEC where he rose through the ranks to become the youngest director of its Prosecution and Enforcement and Non-Traditional Securities and Instruments Department. He also led the SEC Davao and Zamboanga Extension offices, where he launched capital market promotion activities, as well as relentless enforcement actions against investment fraud in the countryside. Concurrently, he is the chairperson of the government-controlled Credit Information Corporation, as well as the chair of the Microfinance NGO Regulatory Council. He is a sitting member of the Anti-Money Laundering Council He also chairs the Asian Capital Market Forum Corporate Governance Working Group. Upon his assumption as SEC chairman, he shepherded the passage of the revised Corporation Code, a landmark legislation that was signed into law by President Rodrigo Duterte last February 21, 2019. He had earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Commerce, major in Accounting, magna cum laude, and valedictorian at the Universidad de Zamboanga in 1984. He finished his law studies at San Beda College, where he was a Dean's Lister and Silver Medalist. He placed 16th in the 1992 bar exams. Under a government scholarship, he earned a master's degree in public management at the Development Academy of the Philippines, graduating at the top of his class. He was conferred a certificate of study by the University of Sydney for a course on effective governance. He likewise attended and completed the FinTech Advanced Program at the People's Bank of China School of Finance, Tsinghua University. He had also undergone the AIM Management Development Program and presently serves as an executive in residence of this world-class institution. He is in the faculty roster of the Ateneo Xavier University College of Law, teaching commercial law since 2012. He was also a senior lecturer of the University of Southeastern Philippines Graduate School of Government and Management. He was an associate professor of the Western Mindanao State University and a faculty member of the ADZU College of Accountancy and Management. Earlier on, he taught at the Universidad de Zamboanga College of Commerce and Accountancy. Under his leadership, SEC was awarded in Geneva, Switzerland, as one of only 5 top recipients of the United Nations ISAR Honors 2019 for best practice in the area of sustainability and SDG reporting of companies. The commission was also conferred the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission Plaque of Honor for innovative measures undertaken in delivery of public service. Further, SEC maintained its distinction as among the best performing government agencies per the Makati Business Club survey. The RSEC was likewise recognized by the Government Quality Management Committee for its ISO certification 9001-2015, covering all its core processes and all sites. Last November 2020, he was adjudged by the Philippine Institute of Certified Public Accountants as its outstanding CPA in government. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give a great welcome for the Honorable Emilio Benito Aquino.
Attorney Francis Lim, President of the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines, or FINEX, Board of Directors, distinguished members and guests, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to be your guest speaker in this year's second FINEX General Membership Meeting. I will give you a glimpse of what we did during the past 2020 pandemic year and forward, what we envision SEC would be by the end of my term, some 4 years down the road, with our Supervision 2025. This grand plan allowed us to keep our eyes on the ball even when our markets got floored by the virus. We have 2 major mandates as set forth in 2 landmark legislations. Actually, we do implement a dozen more laws where SEC has a critical role to play. But for our purpose today, let me focus on just those 2 laws. First, our role as securities regulator provided in the 2-decade-old Securities Regulation Code, or SRC, which, like our US counterpart, makes SEC mainly in charge of protecting investors, capital formation, and maintaining a fair, orderly, and transparent capital market. Second is our role as company registrar, prescribed in the 2-year-old revised corporation code. This law mandates the SEC to improve the ease of doing business, provide for protection of minority stockholders, promote corporate governance, and undertake major organizational development initiatives to help SEC carry out its profound and impactful mandates. We are primarily the regulator and enforcer of our securities laws. How we go about our job is thus critical to the protection of investors and the integrity of our capital markets. So far, as you will see, our enforcement department stepped up during the pandemic. We remained relentless in enforcing laws against investment scammers who took advantage of the pandemic to prey on the public. We consistently scored legal victories over perpetrators of investment scams. The high-profile cases in 2020 are the case of CAPA. Our composite law enforcement agencies arrested CAPA Community Ministry International founder Joel Apolinario and 25 others during a bloody operation which left 2 of the CAPA founders' men killed and another seriously wounded. Our SEC is working on the progress of several cases against Apolinario and his cohorts before the RTCs in Bislig, Quezon City, and Antipolo for various violations of the Securities Regulation Code. The case of RJF Construction and Development Corporation. The Quezon City RTC, Branch 90, found guilty beyond reasonable doubt 3 scammers for violations of Section 8 of the SRC. Of course, the infamous Calata case. The Court of Appeals has affirmed the indictment of 8 shareholders in Calata Corporation for engaging in trading activities that artificially inflated the price of the company's shares and consequently induced the public to buy them. In a decision promulgated on September 10, 2020, the Special 6th Division of the Appellate Court granted the petition for certiorari by the SEC to nullify the resolutions of the Department of Justice that dismissed the complaint and directed the withdrawal of the criminal case filed against the errant shareholders and officers, plus a host of other legal victories against high-profile individuals involving public companies. At present, we are prosecuting 32 individuals charged in 7 cases for violations of the Securities Regulation Code and 2 cases for violations of the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. We likewise issued cease and desist orders against 7 unauthorized investment schemes. For 2020, SEC issued a record high number of advisories cautioning the public to avoid or stop engaging with certain entities involved in fraudulent investment schemes. We issued advisories against more than 120 groups and individuals for soliciting investments without the necessary license. Almost double the total number of advisories issued in 2019. Of this total, 38 advisories were issued during the ECQ period alone. The Commission actively pursued erring lending and financing companies, resulting in convictions and prosecution. We successfully obtained judgment of convictions in 4 criminal cases filed before the RTC of Pasay City for violation of the Lending Company Regulation Act, where we have 20 foreigners and 22 Filipinos convicted. A total of 153 individuals, including 66 foreign nationals, were prosecuted by the SEC in 18 cases filed before the RCC. There are likewise 18 cases before the municipal trial courts for falsification of public document or perjury. And today, we revoke the certificate of registration of over 2,000 lending and financing firms for failure to secure a secondary license. We likewise issued CDOs against 58 online lending operators for failure to incorporate and secure a secondary license. And because there were less corporate registrations due to the pandemic, SEC personnel redirected their time and closely monitored, fined, or penalized a total of 195,630 errant firms and individuals for non-compliance with laws being implemented by the Commission. That's almost 800% compared to the previous year. Because of constraints in mobility during the ECQ and GCQ periods, there was a significant decline in company registrations by 37%. We got hit during the second quarter with only 2,000 registrations, but rapidly recovered in the third quarter with over 6,000 registrations. In the fourth quarter, we approved almost 8,000 company registrations, which is about the same level as the pre-pandemic first quarter. We issued a total of 37 impactful SEC memorandum circulars, including 4 which granted regulatory relief, another 4 which operationalized the revised corporation code, including the SEC MC number 6, which provides for guidelines on the attendance and participation through teleconferencing, video conferencing, and other remote or electronic means of communication. And SEC MC number 28, which provides for requirements for corporations, partnerships, associations, and individuals to create and or designate email account address or cell phone number for transactions with the Commission. There were also 3 MCs adopting international standards on anti-money laundering and countering terrorism financing. We got sued in the RTC and the Court of Appeals for requiring disclosure of ultimate beneficial ownership. The RTC dismissed the case while the Court of Appeals denied the prayer for injunctive relief. SEC being the gateway to doing business in the Philippines, we fully supported the establishment and implementation of the following reforms to improve the ease of doing business in the country. The National Business One-Stop Shop, or NBOS, launched on the 28th of February 2020 at our SEC head office. The NBOS is a physical co-location and integration of the processes of the SEC, BIR, SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig for a streamlined business registration process for the one-person corporation applicants. And the Central Business Portal, or CBP, launched just recently. This is a platform where citizens and business owners can access the forms, information, and requirements they need for their business-related transactions. With the implementation of the NBOS and the CBP, RTAP projects that starting in business can be completed in 9 steps in 7.5 days. A big improvement from the 13 steps in 33 days in the 2020 Doing Business Report. While the 2021 Doing Business Report is not yet published, the World Bank has initially acknowledged and accepted 3 SEC reforms on protecting minority investors. These reforms are projected to increase the country's score from 62.8 to 63.4 and rank from 95th to 94th place. And the PMI ranked from the 72nd to the 51st place. It may be recalled that your SEC contributed most in the improvement of our ranking in the DB or the Doing Business Report in the previous year. While new company registrations went down due to the pandemic, in the capital market, we saw significant increase in the amount of securities registered in 2020. Almost 300% increase compared to registrations in 2018 and 2019. The stock market has recovered since March 13, 2020, a day after the announcement of community quarantine amid the COVID-19 pandemic, and sustained its recovery for the rest of the year till this day. The ADB reports that the total local currency bond outstanding in the Philippines reached 8,136.4 billion pesos. That's 167.8 billion US dollars at the end of September, on growth of 8.8% quarter on quarter and 21.5% year on year. The government and corporate bond markets grew over 10% quarter on quarter and almost 4% quarter on quarter respectively, and comprise almost 18% and 21% of the local currency bond market. On REITs, the SEC, together with the DOF, the BIR, and PSE, launched in January 2020 the amendments to the regulations governing REIT. Ayala Land's A-REIT launched the first REIT offering and listing in the Philippines, raising 13.57 billion for investment in the Philippines. Double Dragon Properties Corporation submitted its REIT plan last November with a maximum offer worth 15 billion pesos. The portfolio consists of 3 commercial properties comprising 6 office towers with retail components in the Double Dragon Meridian Park. The SEC also issued the rules on corporate debt vehicle or CDV to support the liquidity needs of large corporations and medium-sized enterprises in the middle and aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. A CDV is a closed-end investment company that issues or offers for sale its securities consisting of either shares of stocks or units of participation in such CDV to any number of qualified buyers and or non-qualified buyers not exceeding 19 persons in the Philippines during the 12-month period, with the specific objective of investing in the corporate debts of large corporations and medium-sized enterprises. We are currently reviewing one application of a prospective CDB. After 2 decades since the passage of the Securities Regulation Code, the SEC has finally reformed the governance and ownership structure of the PSE by increasing the number of independent directors. It aligns with the best practices of major and comparable markets in many economies, where independent directors comprise the majority of the board of securities exchanges. The rules provide that independent directors shall constitute at least 1/3 of the members of the board of directors of exchanges and other organized markets. It further requires at least 4 persons representing the interests of issuers, investors, and other market participants, with each sector having at least 1 representative in the board of directors of an exchange or other organized market. The SEC has considered favorably the securitization plan of National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation, covering 319.32 million of its residential loan portfolio. Under the securitization plan, NHMFC will sell a select pool of 1,291 long-term secured residential loans to a special purpose trust known as Balay Bonds 2 Special Purpose Trust. We likewise approve the securitization plan of 8990 Holdings Incorporated, covering 2.13 billion in contract to sell receivables. Under the securitization plan of the firm and its subsidiaries, it will sell to CBC Assets 1 Incorporated receivables from about 2,511 CTS accounts with an original term of up to 25 years. We also approved the country's first crowdfunding portal, the Invest3, a joint venture between Phininvest Development Corporation and Invest3 Singapore Limited. Invest3 is the first crowdfunding intermediary and funding portal registered with the Commission. The SEC or SEC approved the use of Bond.ph app and the PDAX DLT platform to distribute the retail treasury bonds, that's RTV24, to ease access by small investors, including the unbanked. To enable Filipinos abroad to participate, we also cleared the selling of premium bonds and RTVs through Land Bank's Overseas Filipino Bank Mobile Banking App or MBA. Last November 2020, our SEC led the celebration of the first ever Investor Protection Week in line with Proclamation number 846 series of 2019, declaring the second week of November of every year as Investor Protection Week. The celebration included the launch of SEC Campaign Network and the SEC Academy. At present, we have 11 campaign network partners. That's the IBP, PICPA, PSE, ACPAP, of course, FINEX, PIFA, CDC, NYC, OWA, DepEd, and CHED. We had a webinar on doing business and investing safely in the Philippines, designed primarily for senior high school and college students as part of the Commission's strategy to scam-proof Filipinos and tackle investment scams. A total of 22 investor champions composed of bloggers and celebrities were tapped. Hence, we had a total reach of 630,000 through these virtual activities. The SEC effectively maintained its culture of excellence for the benefit of the public it serves, despite the deferment of its strategic projects to give way to the country's COVID-19 emergency response. We successfully expanded the scope of our ISO 9001-2015 certification to cover all core services in the head office and all of its extension offices with zero non-conformity. For the second consecutive year, we obtained unqualified audit rating from the Commission on Audit, or COA. Also, for the second consecutive year, PCOO recognized the SEC as an FOI champion for being one of the top performing agencies in the implementation of the Freedom of Information program. We attained Level 2 maturity, that's process-defined HRM, in performance management and learning and development under the Program to Institutionalize Meritocracy and Excellence in Human Resource Management, or the Prime HRM of the Civil Service Commission. The Philippine Institute of Certified Public Accountants, or PICPAC, likewise recognized this humble representation as outstanding CPA in government during their November annual convention. At the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the SEC promptly carried out immediate response measures to mitigate its adverse effects. The SEC ensured the continued operation of the stock and fixed income markets during the ECQ to ensure that both the government and business sector, particularly small and business enterprise, have continued access to capital or financing. The SEC likewise continued to accept and process online applications for registration of corporations and partnerships, and for its other frontline services. The Commission immediately granted regulatory relief to its regulated entities by extending the period for filing reportorial requirements, providing alternative modes of filing, and suspending the imposition of certain penalties. The SEC directly contributed 2 billion pesos to the Duterte administration's response measures to address the COVID-19 pandemic. The SEC directed lending companies, financing companies, and microfinance NGOs to comply with the mandatory grace period for all loans and provide other relief measures to cushion the adverse impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on borrowers. During that early stage of the COVID-19 pandemic, government made a call for volunteers to undertake mass testings of panic-stricken OFWs. At least 4 of our SEC professionals came forward as volunteer swabbers. Now, let me tackle our SEC Supervision 2025, which is our North Star that kept us on track so far. It's a 7-year roadmap that we devised for the SEC during my 7-year term as chairperson. The capital market development blueprint is aligned to it. Our big, hairy, audacious goal, or BHAG, at the SEC is that by 2049, our driven, highly trained, and customer-centric SEC team and its distinct ability to embrace cutting-edge and innovative technology will have enabled the transformation of the Philippines into the best business sector and capital market of choice. For the medium term, we envision that by 2025, the SEC, with its driven, highly trained, and customer-centric team of professionals equipped with innovative technology and automated registration and data management systems, is the premier investor champion and catalyst of a broadened and informed investor-based capital market and business sector considered among the best in the Southeast Asian region. To ensure a holistic and balanced approach, our strategic objectives or broad priorities represent the 4 perspectives of customer, stakeholder, internal processes, learning and organizational growth, and finance. We have a total of 13 strategic objectives. To attain our strategic objectives, we will continue to carry out our 10 strategic initiatives with some adjustments in our schedules due to the pandemic. Number 1, the SRC and RCC compliance of regulated entities, or SCORE, to promote good corporate governance and broaden investor participation through reforms in capital market formation, accreditation and licensing, compliance, governance reforms, initiatives and trends, and certification examination for capital market professionals. Number 2, IT's green and green. Leverage on ICT to enable SEC to become a business-friendly registrar and reliable data provider. Number 3, priority legislative agenda or plan. Pursue legislative reforms for more effective and efficient regulation. Number 4, SEC CAN, or the Communication, Advocacy, and Network. Intensify investor education and protection in partnership with the SEC Campaign Network. By 2022, we plan to complete the following: our Media Center, the SEC Academy, and the SEC Campaign Network, and the annual Investor Protection Week. Number 5, Project Quest, or Quality and Excellence in Service Delivery and Talent Development. So we will be carrying out the following: maintenance of the ISO 9001:2015 certification, achieve the Philippine Quality Award, it's Government Excellence Self-Assessment Tool, and attain Prime HRM Level 3 compliance. Number 6, CRISP, or Client-Centric Re-engineering and Innovation of Systems and Procedures. We will streamline systems and procedures towards ease of doing business and customer delight. Number 7, gearing up the Enforcement and Investor Protection Program. We will strengthen enforcement capacity and equipment to prevent investment scams and protect investors. Number 8, secure, strengthening expertise and competence to uphold and raise the bar of excellence. Continuously upgrade the organizational structure and create an enabling work environment to attract and retain the best and the brightest professionals. We aim to achieve the following by 2022. FINEX, the FinTech Office, short for FinTech and Innovative Securities and Exchanges Office. We have the Cyber and Forensic Division, the Compliance Examination and Audit Unit, our International Affairs Unit, and the Investor Education Unit. Number 9, we also have our version of the SEC Build. And number 10, strengthening financial accountability management. Confucius once said, when it is obvious that the goals cannot be reached, don't adjust the goals, adjust the action steps. Some key drivers are influencing priorities and regulatory agenda. Investor protection and financial stability are the bulwarks of much financial services regulation. But the impacts of the pandemic and lockdown measures have brought additional topics to the fore. It has accelerated trends in the use of technology and demands for sustainable finance. Because of the pandemic, our IT initiatives were hastened. Thus, we have the first initiative, the Company Investments and Financial Statistical System, or SIPS, with its online submission tool. We will have its beta launch, which already commenced actually this week. Now, it will allow the uploading of files through a web interface. This will save the SEC a significant amount of resources, both time and manpower, in accepting, analyzing, and safekeeping of compliance reports and documents. Number 2, we have the electronic system for processing and regulation of corporations. That's eSpark. eSpark 1 will be launched in May 2021 to replace the existing company registration system or CRS and less than 5 systems, migrating and cleansing existing data moving forward and providing componentized services to be used by eSpark 2. Now, eSpark 2 will be developed in partnership with the ADB as the new company registration system. The terms of preference and other details are currently being finalized. Our target implementation is first quarter of 2022. Number 3, the FinTech and Innovative Securities and Exchanges or FinTech's office will be launched in May 2021 as an ad hoc group to be spun off as a standalone office in 2022 pursuant to Section 37 of the Securities Regulation Code. Said Innovation Office is created to address and adapt to the ever-changing financial markets and to facilitate the introduction of new technologies for the benefit of investors and the efficiency and resiliency of our capital markets. It will also facilitate and spur innovations in RegTech and SupTech. It will zero in on SME listing, innovative securities, and innovative markets through our regulatory inbox. These programs and projects will be further reinforced by our digital transformation and technology modernization roadmap, which will focus on transforming procedural environments, policy environments, and adopting the requisite tools such as software, equipment, and appliances that traverse a full ICT solution stack and the transformation of requisite behavior. It will transform and refine the flow of information within the SEC as the country's corporate repository, as it interfaces and extends to external partners such as other government agencies, corporate enterprise partners, and the transacting public. Its strategic goals are as follows: model a well-designed, efficient system and methodology for transformation and automation that can be replicated across the whole government. Institutionalized transformation as an intrinsic and enduring part of the continual improvement and operations management practices of the Commission. And to transform SEC to become a wellspring of harmonized and credible data, intelligent and actionable information, and curated and enriched knowledge about all things pertaining to the Philippine economy. The roadmap covers 3 critical to quality CTQ components of transformation. That's service procedural transformation, policy transformation, and technology modernization. The roadmap's high-level timelines run through 2020 to 2025 in consonance with the SEC Supervision 2025. It is broken into 3 time frames: 2020 to 2021, 2021 to 2023, and 2023 to 2025. Now, let's discuss in detail our strategic objectives to attain our Supervision 2025 in relation to capital market development. 3 of our strategic objectives on stakeholder engagement directly relate to capital markets development. We aim to satisfy our stakeholders in the capital markets by being the proactive and effective investor champion, good corporate governance, sustainable development, and stakeholder-centric advocate, and capital market catalyst and educator that broadens investor participation. As I proceed to discuss this in detail, I will also point out those priorities that are related to or aligned with the Commission's deliverables under the Capital Market Development Blueprint. In the further pursuit of our objective to be a proactive and effective investor champion, we aim to improve our regulated entities' compliance with the Commission's rules and regulations. We want to ensure that the actors that are critical to the efficient functioning of the capital markets are able to perform their respective roles in an effective and ethically sound manner. These include broker-dealers, SROs, PLCs, investment companies, asset valuers, credit rating agencies, and external auditors. Let us move on to the second strategic objective I'd like to share with you today. We at the SEC aim to be a good corporate governance, sustainable development, and stakeholder-centric advocate. We target to progressively increase the number of Philippine companies awarded for adopting good corporate governance and sustainable business practices. As chairperson of the corporate governance working group of the ASEAN Capital Markets Forum, I am pleased to note that in the 2019 ASEAN Corporate Governance Scorecard Awards, of the top 20 ASEAN PLCs which garnered the highest ACGS scores, 4 are from the Philippines. 19 of the Pioneer ASEAN Asset Class awardees, or those which garnered a score of 97.5 and above, are likewise from the Philippines. As part of our advocacy, we intend to increase the amount of green, social, and sustainability bonds issued by Philippine firms. This is also in line with our commitment under the CMD Blueprint to promote environmental, social, and governance ESG principles as part of the goal to increase issuer participation in fixed income markets. We are pleased to know that as of 31 January 2021, the total ASEAN labeled green, social, and sustainability bonds issued amounted to $8.58 billion, of which $3.85 billion, or 45%, were issued by Philippine companies. We target to progressively increase the microfinance NGOs delivered products and services to foster local enterprise development and social entrepreneurship. As of the third quarter last year, the microfinance NGOs provided 51.4 billion worth of microfinance and allied services to poor and low-income clients. We aim to increase the amount of investments in legitimate collective investment schemes, or the CISL, that is, mutual funds, and, of course, pending the passage of the CIS law, unit investment trust funds, or UITFs, and variable universal life, or VULs. In 2020, mutual funds investments reached a total of 331 billion pesos, a considerable growth from 2019's 285.8 billion pesos. We are expecting a positive investment trajectory as well with UITFs and VULs once the collective investment schemes law is passed. We are likewise determined to be the capital market catalyst and educator that broadens investor participation. We want to continually increase retail participation in the capital market and various investment products. This includes equity, bonds, and other fixed income products, REITs, crowdfunding securities, digital asset, commodity futures contracts, and blue bonds. Ultimately, we aim to increase the size of the capital market relative to the GDP. In 2020, the attained relative size are as follows. Equity, market capitalization relative to GDP is 84.2%. Bonds, size of local currency bond market in percent of GDP, 50.88%. And for REITs, capital raised relative to GDP equals 0.07%. Relatedly, under the CMD blueprint, we commit to introduce the overnight index swap or OIS market in partnership with the Bankers Association of the Philippines. This is in line with the CMD blueprint's objective to increase issuer participation in the fixed income markets. Likewise, broaden repo and securities lending to non-banks in partnership with the Bureau of Treasury and BAP. This is in line with the CMD blueprint's objective to improve the participation of market intermediaries in fixed income securities. This initiative includes guidance on safe harbor, migration to a more robust system for repo transactions, and participation of trust, insurance companies, and the likes in the repo market. Migrate to a more stable and reliable benchmark to facilitate the onboarding of investors and increase investor activity. In line with this, we extended the license of the BAP as benchmark administrator until March of this year and conducted corresponding on-site audit in November last year. We'll also increase issuance of asset-backed securities to increase issuer participation in alternative products, build a database of pension assets and liabilities to monitor funding levels in line with the CMDC initiative to increase the institutional investor base. I have so far shared with you our overall strategy map and 3 strategic objectives on capital markets development. At this point, I will share our strategic objectives to operationalize these strategic objectives and attain the corresponding targets that I have just discussed. I will focus on 3 of our strategic initiatives or projects, that is SCORE, PLAN, and SEC CAN. Okay. For SCORE, SRC and RCC compliance of regulated entities, it aims to professionalize regulators and improve their compliance with regulatory requirements and good corporate governance standards. It has 5 components: capital market formation, accreditation and licensing compliance, governance reform initiatives and trends, certification examinations for capital market participants. Under capital market formation, we target to issue and implement the following by next year: rules on umbrella or master fund structure, procedures for one-stop shop registration of CIS and licensing of mutual fund distributor and fund manager, green funds, sustainable funds, and social funds rules, and propose the passage of the Investment Advisors Act and Investors Protection Act. Under the accreditation and licensing component of SCORE, we have started the updating of the SEC Oversight Assurance Review or SOR guidelines, as well as the audit manuals for our internal use in the on-site inspection of accredited credit rating agencies and property valuers. We also target to accredit company formation agents and regulate gatekeepers to further improve the ease of starting a business and the protection of investors, respectively. To strengthen the compliance of our regulated entities, we carried out the following initiatives: development of procedure for off-site and on-site monitoring of investment companies, CIS, briefing of compliance of regulations for investment companies, public companies, and issuers of proprietary, non-proprietary securities. Hold forum meetings between SEC and associations and networks of foundations and microfinance NGOs. Establishment and operation of compliance examination and audit unit. And roundtable discussions or TRDs with mutual fund industry through PIFA and other industry associations. Our governance report, initiatives, and trends include the development and implementation of CG Code for capital market participants. We have also the CG Code for MSMEs. The big component of SCORE is certification examination for capital market participants, which is composed of 4 programs. We have the enhanced phase 1 and 2 certification examinations certification seminars, examination for capital market professionals, and the continuing professional development program and equivalency program. Now, let's proceed to the PLAN or plan or priority legislative agenda, which aims to pursue legislative reforms for a more effective and efficient regulation. 3 of our priority legislative reforms are likewise our priorities in the CMD blueprint. That's the FIS or the Financial Institutions Strategic Transfer Bill, GUIDE, which is the Government Financial Institutions Unified Initiatives to Distressed Enterprises for Economic Recovery Bill, and of course the Collective Investment Schemes Law. The SEC has also been pushing for amendments to the Securities Regulation Code. Another supervision initiative is the SEC CAN, Communication Advocacy and Network. Its goal is to intensify investor education and protection in partnership with the campaign network partner organizations. Thus, our key activities would be the establishment of the Media Center, the launch of the SEC Academy, of course, our annual Investor Protection Week celebration, digital campaign, social media campaign, and traditional media campaign. So, finally, I would like to take this opportunity to thank FINEX for supporting the initiatives of the Commission through the campaign network, where FINEX is a partner, the SEC certification examinations body of knowledge, and of course the CMD blueprint formulation and implementation. We hope to sustain and further deepen our partnership in these areas through more intensive investor education in terms of topics and reach, continuing professional development program for licensed capital market professionals, and the CMD blueprint monitoring and updating. As a stakeholder-centric organization, we highly value your inputs to draft rules and regulations for capital market development, your support to the passage and implementation of the FIS, GUIDE, and SIS or the CIS bills, and the possible amendment of the SRC, although so many powers had been granted to SEC under the RCC. And of course, your participation in the stakeholder engagement and feedback mechanisms of our digital transformation and technology modernization journey. So with that, I say thank you. It's easy at SEC.
Thank you, Chair Emil, for a very enlightening and comprehensive presentation. I learned so much listening. Anyway, I would also like to acknowledge the following SEC commissioners who have taken the time to join us. Commissioner Kelvin Lee and Commissioner Javi Francisco. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to facilitate the open forum, may I call on Ms. Malu Cristobal, Vice Chairman of the FINEX Capital Market Development Committee and Chairperson of Multinational Investment Bancorp. Malu, take it away.
Thank you, Ed. Having Chair Emil in today's GMM is actually quite timely because today is Ash Wednesday and the beginning of Lent. And celebrating Lent is really about putting meaning and purpose to one's life. And what better way to put meaning to one's life than to be of service to one's country and people, which is precisely what Chair Emil is doing. So thank you, Chair Emil, for your service to our country and people. And thank you too for the very comprehensive and extremely insightful presentation today, particularly on the road ahead for the capital markets. We're very encouraged to note that FINEX has a partner and a co-advocate for the development of the Philippine capital market. There's a lot that we can do together in the years ahead. You mentioned you still have 4 years, plus perhaps another 7. So it's a long road, but we're gonna tread that road together. Chair Emil, by around the same time next month, we would already have been in quarantine for a full year. And I would imagine that unless we get, the mass vaccination in place, we probably will still be in quarantine, perhaps on a modified basis for the coming months still. You mentioned earlier the relief measures that you provided to reporting companies during at the start of the pandemic. We would be very interested to know whether these relief measures will continue, and beyond the quarantine, which of the measures you think can still be kept in place? And
Oh,
can we have some specifics?
okay. Um, well, these measures were taken because of Bayanihan Act 1 and 2, where we were required to come up with to at least extend the statutory deadlines of requirements. You may have observed that during the pandemic, expectedly, people cannot go on mass gatherings. They cannot conduct their annual stockholders meeting. So we made it a point not to be as strict as we were before, and actually the extensions were done uh, one after the other. You know, we gave a 1 month extension, then later on we didn't realize it's going to last this long,
Yes.
so
And
we
it will last
extended it
further on. So,
further on, and we have always kept our ears close to the ground and listen to Claymore also, because it is quite unfair, because in the meantime that there's the community quarantine, and which restrain us from mobility, and then at the same time we make those requirements. So as it is, your SEC is still, of course, trying to keep an open ear about of request. Actually, we had been receiving requests on certain deadline extensions,
yes.
and which we will do if it's still entailed. So I cannot give you
Will you want a
specific month.
clamor from the various associations for the extension?
You don't have to. At least listening from FINEX alone is more than sufficient
Okay.
to convince us if there are. But if you will notice, we also came up with our SIPS program, which is really to go towards online submissions. And I'm happy to say that we have so far been successful in our beta launch, and but with more than adequate transitions, because you know how difficult it is. While I would understand for publicly listed firms, with all their
Yes.
compliance officers and all, would readily comply. But a lot of our clients, the small ones, the small companies and associations are, what do you call this, IT constraint or challenge,
Yes.
as they say. So we are at least we have our draft rules now, providing and allowing it, and Commissioner Kelvin Lee is leading that measure. I mean that initiative. Uh, we intend to impose it to corporates and then leave the non-stock non-profits for later. So it has always been, we had, as Kelvin Lee was reporting to us, our rules had undergone 29 iterations already. So that's how we operate now. We always listen to
It's
comments.
fluid.
Yeah, it's how difficult things are,
So
and
we
we cannot
cannot yet
that of course
extract from you a commitment of any extension of deadlines.
well, as it is, if as I said, even in the previous year, we had readily extended if
Okay.
it is necessary. Yes.
Okay, so we'll have to await further announcements from
Yes.
the SEC. Okay. We earlier on, before the start of the meeting, we were talking about the work arrangements of the SEC staff. Initially, you were on a work from home basis, and
Yes.
then subsequently, you did mention that you're on a splitting arrangement where 50% of the organization will report for work for certain weeks and then followed by the other batch, etc. Has this been a seamless transition? How has the productivity of the organization been affected by this disruption in the normal flow of work? And I'm asking this, Chair Emil,
Yes.
because I understand that there will be a lot more activity on the capital market side this year. We're
Yes.
hearing a lot of, or increased number of IPOs, for example, and
That's right.
clearly these are time bound,
That's
and processing will have to move in the speed that will allow, the proponents to be able to complete their processes according to the timeline that they've envisioned, because any delays would have repercussions on a lot of the,
Yes.
the critical areas of the exercise. So how has the productivity been, and what are you envisioning as possible changes to still cope with I'll use the word subnormal working conditions in light of the possible increased demands from the SEC?
Well, most definitely we got hit on the second quarter of last year, uh, both from the company registration, the site, and our securities registration. But then we somehow were able to recover in the third and the fourth quarter, and I'm happy to say that as you may have seen, that the company registration level now has currently reached the pre-COVID levels.
Mm-hmm.
In like manner, our securities registrations, well, despite COVID, we had the largest IPO ever in the history of the PSE. We had that's Converge, and then the first REIT listing, and in fact, we just approved, at least at the level of the SEC, the Double Dragon REITs,
Yes.
and we are expecting like 5 more
Mm-hmm.
upcoming. And but I'm proud to say that our men and women of the SEC had stepped up despite the pandemic.
Yes.
They've been there, and despite all the pressures I'm giving to them, uh, just so because we this is the only way to exude confidence in our markets by coming out and approving this as fast as we can.
So
Uh,
there you go, Ed Fran. Commitment from the SEC chair that you're going to get your approvals on time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, there, yeah, on record, chair. This is
yeah,
on record.
no
Okay.
problem at all.
All right. Let me just touch very briefly on investment scams, because I guess in a low interest rate scenario, plus the
Yeah,
prevailing difficulties of as a result of the pandemic, that you do
that's right.
get a lot of more gullibility and the desire of investors or the investing
Yes,
public to up their return.
yes,
And you tracked, I think, a much increased number of investment scams last
yes, that's
year.
right.
Are you satisfied with the extent that the SEC has been able to run after and prosecute scammers, or are there
Yes.
certain limitations in what you can do, and that there is need for increased, I don't know, authority for you to be even more effective in your fight
Yeah.
against investment scams and frauds?
Yeah. Well, as far as our enforcement action is concerned, our enforcement department here has really delivered. In fact, almost double the number of advisories in the previous year. And I think there's a problem in terms of investor education. And that's exactly why we embark in the massive uh, investor education programs. Of course,
What
it
are the
started here
channels
with
that
FINEX.
you use for investor education? Because I'm kind of concerned about the possible digital or technological divide
Yes,
between certain
ex-
investors of access to the new
that-
forms of
that's
the
right.
new channels, and those
Social
who may
media.
not be as
Yeah, actually, they are being. I mean, the scammers mostly they would use YouTube, they use Facebook, even Instagram,
social
and
media.
we
Okay.
use the same portals, the same uh, programs that in launching also our investor education, because our kababayans now their eyes are glued to the screen. So that's exactly why there's an increase in these investment scams. And besides, because times are difficult, some of them they know that they are into getting into investment scams.
They're just
Yes,
hoping that it's not going to hit them. That it's,
exactly.
the
They
theory of the
get to
last fool.
swing quick
The
profit,
guy behind
invest,
you
and then
will get
run.
hit.
But because in one of the scheme, this the one that happened in the somewhere in the Visayas, they have there's it provides for double your money in a day, in 30 days or 45 days, and then they have a kind of a roleta. So obviously it's a scam. How can you double your money in just a day if it's something legit? So and I would expect people to have been somehow aware. Of course, not all, not all.
Yes, yes.
Some of them, or quite a number of them, would already know that it's a scam, but because of difficult times and
And they
desperation,
think they can
they-
they can exit ahead of the others.
yes, they
Oh.
resort to this, not thinking that they're just really robbing, Peter to pay Paul. You're really
Yeah,
part of the fraud, actually, since
Mm.
they're aware. They're not exactly that clueless about this scams. That's how we see it. That's why it's very important for us with FINEX to be very very um, aggressive even in our investor education. I know there's
Yes, yes.
the
Mm.
FINEX Academy that you also launched that we
Yes.
should somehow step up in our efforts there.
Noted, Chair Emil. Let me just go on the issues of the capital markets. If you look
Okay.
at the ASEAN 6, no, which includes Vietnam,
Yeah,
we seem to have the lowest number of listed companies in the stock exchange. And if
that's
you look
correct.
at the percentage of outstanding corporate bonds to GDP, you
Yeah,
take out Indonesia, we're also, I
yeah,
think, the lowest in the
yeah,
ASEAN 6. You did present, the road ahead. And so we
yeah,
know the what you
yeah.
intend to see. But just briefly looking back, where lies the problem? What did Vietnam do right? And what deterred us from moving in lockstep with our neighbors? And would what would be the house for HOW of SEC in terms of, I mean, what can you do in concrete terms to speed up the development of our capital market, which at this point is still, I guess, to a certain extent, in its embryonic stage, where the government is by far still the dominant issuer in the market.
Yes. Okay. We had been very active in the ASEAN Capital Market Forum.
Mhm.
And in fact, the SEC is a member of the Working Committee on Capital Market Development. Of late, we had been, benchmarking as well the regulations in the ASEAN 6. We had even we approved the PSE's revised or amended listing rules just the other week, no, which which is intended to address the SME board.
Mhm.
We did check the practices of Bursa Malaysia, I think SGX, and I think the Securities Stock Exchange of Thailand, just so to make sure that we are at par. I mean, we are able to benchmark their best practices. But the
And where
thing
are
where
we in, if you talk about benchmarking
yes,
with, I guess, the best of the region?
yes,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
assuming that we're behind, how
We
far behind are we?
we might not be able to at least be as robust as Singapore, but I think we have it's within the what do you call this? Uh, we have a good chance over Malaysia and Thailand. We have been studying their PLCs. A lot of them are well SMEs. That's for one. That's why we had
Mm-hmm.
approved the PSE amended listing rules precisely
Okay,
because
yes.
bring down at least even the profitability, including the track record requirements,
Mm-hmm.
just so
Mm-hmm.
to be able to invite more
Okay,
to
that's
get
increasing
listed.
number of,
Yes.
okay,
And then
listings.
Malaysia is a bit they have so many because a lot of their government or state-owned entities are also registered. We've seen that, and then so far, I'm happy to report. I think I stated that in my presentation that our Philippine companies are at par with our Asian neighbors in terms of corporate governance. In fact, of the one that I attended in the Kuala Lumpur, of 50, the top 50 Asian companies, we have like 9 out of 50, which is not bad. We were better off than Vietnam and Indonesia.
Are
Okay.
there other critical reforms that you want to push for or champion, again geared towards accelerating the pace of development of the capital market?
I think we could push collective investment schemes.
Okay.
We
I
hope we
think
can get
naka-4 or 5 congress na yata yon, Chair, no?
It has always been, ma'am. It's
Yes.
always been
So
ganun.
so
It takes a
what
while.
what
It
what
takes
has
a while.
kept that bill from getting enacted into law?
Well, for one, the pandemic, I mean, somehow,
Wala
but of
akong
course,
pandemic noong 2019, Chair.
no. What I'm saying that in 2020, cannot talk for
Sige.
earlier years,
Oo.
but
May pandemic pa this year.
wala naman din po. Ang ano lang doon was that it lost its priority. I mean, over the
Mhm.
other economic bills, which our good president, Attorney
Yes.
Francis was saying.
Yes. And
Yeah, and I'm happy.
it is in your legislative
Yeah,
agenda.
yes.
So,
And I'm
will you
happy
be
to
the
report that
champion this
yung
year?
fees, yung fees pinirmahan na rin ni Presidente, and
Yes.
hopefully by tomorrow it gets published
Correct.
so we can have it done already. And then the
Right.
58, I think, is just still in the lower house, but it has already been approved at that level, and we hope
Yes.
that we'll be able to swing that before
So,
the end of Congress.
kailan ho, Chair, yung collective investment scheme?
Well,
I saw in your timeline 2022.
yes, it is been, we're wishing against hope na talagang that we will be able to, I mean, still get it, but we have only till September of this year,
Oo nga.
because by October it's already filing also of candidacies
Yes.
for
The
our
priorities
congressman.
will change.
So
I am sorry. I
sige
am
po.
kind of stepping up the pace, Chair, kasi we're time bound,
Okay. Yes,
and
yes,
I haven't even started reading the questions in
Sige.
our Q&A box. But let me
Yes.
just cover one more item before I read out
Yes,
questions in our Q&A box. No? And this has to do with the ASEAN Economic Community, where one of the objectives, or what is envisioned, is integrating or interlinking the capital markets. I
Okay.
understand that the objectives are, you want connectivity,
Yes. Correct.
harmonized or cohesive regulations, mobility of professionals, and I think promotion of ASEAN asset classes. Just very briefly, Chair, where are we in that integration? And can you very briefly just share with our members what the benefit is to them as investors, as issuers, as arrangers, advisors, auditors, legal counsels?
Well, of course, first, I mean, this came about from the ADB study in the 2015, 2016, thereabout. And we've seen that the biggest obstacle to the integration is really the lack of familiarity of ASEAN investment opportunities among ASEAN investors. Of course, it's a bigger market. I think that's the advantage there.
Yes.
But thing is, our Thai and Malaysian counterparts are not familiar with our Philippine companies, and vice versa. So far for the SEC, we had been actively participating in the ASEAN Capital Market Forum, and we initiated quite a number of initiatives. I think the first one I participated, where I signed the MOA, was the provision on the research reports, allowing to analyze the reports being promoted cross-border.
Shared across borders.
Yes, and then the rules for cross-border investment advisors. We are also a participant there. And then, of course, I already mentioned the recognition of ASEAN corporate governance companies, where actually I'm the sitting chair of the corporate governance working group. And then, as I said, at least 9 of 50 are from the Philippines. And then we are set to sign the ASEAN CIS initiative. That's why we're rushing it, because we're having some difficulty, complying with their
So when do
requirements.
we
But
see the when do we see the integration or the interlinking of the markets?
well,
What is the timeline?
it's 2025. The ASEAN
2025.
integration is 2025.
Okay.
Yes, but at least we're giving our best shot. I mean, to be able to
Yes,
meet this
yes. And you
deadline.
think that is achievable?
It should be. We have to make it happen.
And then maybe we'll check the milestones,
Yes.
on a year-to-year basis. Okay, let me just
Right.
run through the questions,
Yes.
uh, Chair Emil.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The first one, I think, yes or no lang yata ito. Can you now have less than 5 members in the board of directors, both on existing companies and new corporations? And when would this be effective?
Yeah, under the RCC, you
Pwede
could
nga,
have
isa lang the one-person
the
corporation.
one
No?
person,
Sige.
new thing,
Oo.
and then could be 2, 3, 4. We already approved the rules on that. You
Okay,
can.
so that's it. You
Yes.
can already incorporate and
Yes.
have the
Yes,
flexibility.
and
Okay.
amend if for
And
existing
amend.
one.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, good.
Yes. Yes.
Now, next, will the SEC be, I think we talked about this, but on a yes or no basis, will the SEC be extending the deadline for the filing of the 2020 AFS and because of the GCQ and dependency of the CREATE bill, which could delay the finalization
Yes.
of accounts and tax returns?
Yes, yes. The AFS, if you will notice naman, normally kasi you have to submit it immediately from the time they submit it to the BIR. Our timelines are really intended to give companies sufficient time within which to make those filings.
Mhm.
Ginagawa nating color, no, not the color coding, you call that the numbering pala, numbering system. So it's like it will extend up until August, if I'm not mistaken.
And that's in
Oh,
place. So, I
yeah,
mean, our concerned members
yeah.
can look it up, the SEC website, and already know how much of an extension they can
Oh, well,
enjoy.
we're actually pilot testing everything because everything should be done already online. Uh,
Uh,
as I said, we are going to uh, roll this out, I think, mid-March. I mean, for general information sheet submissions. And then
mhm.
for the April submissions, it will be, I cannot just remember the exact months, but it will run
They can
through
check the
June to
website.
August. Yes, yes.
Okay, check the
There is
website. All the extensions are there.
and then probably this I'll plug this as well. The our draft rules on these online submissions are now being circulated, disseminated
Mhm.
for your comments. So please
Okay.
take time to write
Yes,
whatever
and
comments you may have, and we'll consider them.
okay, that's a note to our board and the pertinent committees to work on. And okay, the next one is well, there are 4 new REITs that the news item said are applying for registration, and the
Yes.
question is whether you are expecting the growth of the stock market to come from the REITs. If not, which sector do you expect will wake up the sleepy stock market? I am reading this verbatim.
Well,
Buti
at
hindi
least
moribond ang ginamit.
it
Oo.
is very promising because it seems, at least from the reports,
Yes.
it looks like the worst is over for the real estate market. And then, I mean, that's what I read from the reports. But most definitely, we hope that we will be able to a lot of interested issuers for the small board. That's
Mhm.
why we're trying
Yes.
to push also
So
for
you
that.
expecting possible listings
Yes,
of SMEs within the year, and you're
yes,
looking at it as another pillar for the stock market.
yes, yes, most definitely.
Okay. Okay, the next one, okay, this is interesting. Recently, much of the volume in the PSE is going to third liners rather than index stocks. Is this something that the SEC is looking at or is worried about related to this? Do you think that what happened in the US, particularly GameStop, could happen here? Are there safeguards in the Philippines to avert
Yeah,
a GameStop fiasco or mania or
yeah.
saga, whatever you want to call it?
it won't happen to us because we have yet to approve our short sell
Mm-hmm.
rules. So
Yes.
wala pa rin po yun. And besides, if you will
When do you
notice,
expect that to go on stream?
well, precisely, we are been reviewing it because that would provide for added, to help investors to be able to see if the shares of stocks are dropping, at least they will be able to also make use of that opportunity. But as we have seen in the GameStop saga, we hope it won't happen, but it most definitely it won't happen because we don't really have that the rules. And second, it takes like 1 million retail investors doing that,
Mm-hmm.
participating
Mm-hmm.
through Reddit or the
Yeah, so
Wall
that's a
Street.
comforting note from the chair. It's
Yes,
not going to happen
yes.
in the Philippines. Okay, here's another very quick question lang to. We're experiencing delay and quote, open close parenthesis in months in getting stamped received copies of GIS and related notices to the SEC
That's
filed
right.
through SENS. What are the plans of SEC to expedite the stamping
Okay.
of a
Uh,
GIS?
Precisely, we're going to do online. Unlike before, because of the pandemic, if you'll notice, we allow submissions there to our shoe box, and
Yes.
we have to sanitize them. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
After all, a number of our staff, contracted COVID, so you have to have them still exposed to the air, to the sun, and all, just to have
Mm-hmm.
make sure that they're sanitized. Indeed, it really caused a lot of delays. But with this online submission tool, which we are going to launch already next month,
Uh-huh.
uh, we are expecting that we will be able to get actual digital capture of their submissions. Unlike
Uh-huh.
before,
Mm-hmm.
it's the physical submission
And
of
and your system can accommodate the onslaught of
yeah.
submissions. Hindi ko yung, sometimes the system
Kaya,
chokes and it
That's why
crashes.
we're pacing it. So we're allowing, at saka, one of the things that we experienced when we launched the company registration system, our kababayans are not just really ready with technology. So
Mm-hmm.
this time sabi natin, let's give more leeway to the non-stock muna. Of course, the PLCs, marami naman, they have people naman who would know how
Mm.
to make those online submissions. So, and the public companies.
Okay, so
So but
you're
but it
you're
will help in the
you're
retrieval. It
creating a
will help
schedule. Oo.
kasi dati ang system is you get it manual, you have it scanned, and then
Yes.
by the time you're doing a due diligence, or you need to participate in the bidding, medyo late na yung kasi we have to retrieve it manually with all
Mm-hmm.
those boxes. But this
Mm.
time around, that's why we're really pushing for the online submission.
Yes.
Naka-digitally captured yan, and then it's easier to retrieve. So that when you make your request, we can readily, once it gets submitted, pwede na natin allow it
March.
to,
Did
yeah,
you say March, Chair?
to start
To
our
start.
online submission already.
Yes. But
Yes.
you
And the
said you're
enrollment pala,
scheduling
enrollment natin through that
enrollment.
online submission.
Enrollment muna.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, and then related to we were talking about your systems and whether they
Yes.
can handle
It,
massive flows of data and information. This is another question that says, when can ay Tagalog pala to. Kailan po ulit mag-online ang iView? It has been almost a year since it has
that's
been
right.
offline.
Yung naging problema, yung iView na yan, somehow naging obsolete. So we're going to, with this new thing, the online submission, it's the SIPS program that we are launching, and it will address, in fact, we'll also update the iView as part of
Mhm.
the entire, the entire system.
Okay, and then this one last one. The pandemic has caused the limited investment initiatives, including listings at the debt and equity markets. May we have the SEC's outlook? What is your outlook for debt and equity issues? I think for the year. That's probably the question because
I
this is
I
from.
I think well, we have
Is it
always
going to be
been,
more robust this year? You think?
well, we'll try, of course, as this is market driven, but as far
Mm-hmm.
as the SEC is concerned, we'll try to make the landscape easier and with all the leeways that we can give. And in fact, in some of our some of the issues we try to expedite. We give more time now, and marshal resources, manpower towards to expedite approvals of all these mga IPO registrations, including debt. Yes.
Okay, I was asked to end it at 1:50. I'm already, I've extended by another 2 minutes. I'll ask for another couple of minutes to ask my last question.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair, you mentioned that the SEC's mandate or the
Yes.
objectives are investor protection, capital formation, and fair, orderly, and transparent capital market.
That's correct.
On a final note, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate the SEC?
Now,
in upholding or pursuing these three very critical objectives?
well, we're I don't want to raise our seat, but
Huwag na kayong maging modest.
hindi
You
naman
can
po. I
tell
mean,
it like it is.
we're not there yet, but we aim to be so. In fact, si Secretary Dominguez was telling us when we had our business review. He said, "Why are you aiming only to be among the best? You should be the best." Sabi ko, wala naman, hindi naman masama mangarap, but I'll tell you, in fairness naman po to our SEC staff, our commissioners were committed, really. In fact, you can, parang ano nga kami, talagang rock and roll because we how we are trying to...
Naku, panahon ni President Francis yung rock and roll. Oo.
Hindi nga po yung meaning we've been moving here and trying to undertake reforms, not firefighting, but really, these are
being ahead,
profound and really high impact reforms precisely to improve our capital market. And we have a deadline to follow. So kahit yun nga among the best na lang daw. But I think we're doing well. Yes.
I think on that note, let me thank you, Chair Emil, for your candor and generosity of mind and heart in spending a lot of time with us. I'll bring back Ed, past President Ed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Aquino, for a very engaging open forum and for answering our queries, being very patient. And also to Malu for ably moderating the session. Galing talaga. I also like to acknowledge, please, ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner F. Amatong, who was able to join us after he ended this other meeting. Anyway, we in FINEX will continue to be a partner of the SEC to promote and further develop the capital markets in the country. In fact, FINEX has been co-chairing, as you know, the CMDC, and Dick Dubuladad is our current representative there, and working with the SEC and the DOF. May now we request everybody to answer the quick survey. It will be shown on screen.
Ed, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I was on mute. Okay. Sorry. Thank you very much for letting me know. Thank you, Chair Aquino, for a very engaging open forum, and to Malu for ably moderating this session. Chair, it was very nice of you to update us on all these developments, and we look forward to working with you on that. Yes. I also like to acknowledge Commissioner F. Amatong, who was able to join us after his earlier meeting. Anyway, we in FINEX will continue to work with you, Chair, in the SEC, yes, especially in developing the capital market. Right, yes. Dick Dubaladad is our current CMDC yes. representative from FINEX. Yes. So hopefully we can work with you, and whatever things you need, especially when there are new regulations that you want to get feedback on, please rely on the FINEX members to do that, because I guess FINEX members are issuers and even are really the issuers and the investors. So we'll have good feedback from us, sir. Anyway, now I would like Mike. Mike, can you please, if you ask everybody to answer this quick survey, can we show it on screen?
Mr. Francisco, we'll do the raffle first. We're just trying to upload the quick survey.
Okay, so we'll do the raffle first. Okay, before we officially close the program, let's proceed with the raffle. No, five members will be chosen, and they will receive this DOST approved face mask. So, Mike, maybe you can just show who we selected using our complex algorithm to make sure it is fair. And we have an SEC representative to ensure that the drawing is fair. Yeah. I'm very surprised with this app. There's even a sound. Okay. And then how would we flash the names, Chona, Mike? So it's still...
Ang tagal ng role. Dapat kasama sila Chair Aquino sa
No, it's okay.
sa raffle.
Dapat dapat yung 4 raffle winners, si Chair and the 3 commissioners.
And the 3 commissioners.
Yeah, Nanette, okay, the first winner. Okay, and then...
mas maiksi.
Iikot na naman ba yung kambiolo? Okay.
One turn na lang yung roulette.
Oo nga. Iksian na lang yung time. There. Oo. Oh, 20 seconds to, maski 2 seconds na lang for the spin. Customize. Ayan, sige. I saw the link kasi naka 20 seconds pala eh. Let's make it yan. Make it maski less than 2 seconds, 3 seconds lang. Iksian na lang natin. There. Because it's almost 2 o'clock anyway, and I want to make sure that we end promptly, and we will still hear the President Francis for his closing remarks. Okay. So we have Nanette De Jesus. There. Uni Marie Mata Perez. Congratulations, Uni. Let's choose the third. So at least we have the witness from we are honored to have the chair and the commissioners witnessing this drawing. Okay, the third.
Next time, if Chair Emil is here, we should raffle TV set naman.
Next, Dave De La Cruz is the winner.
Befits the present.
A long-time friend also, and it's now in Santa Lucia, a potential issuer.
Yes.
And Ned Josepo, also a winner. Excellent. Ned from the PMA and with his power background and Ayala background. Thanks, Ned. Next,
I think last na siguro yan.
Last na yan. Lilibet Bago. Congratulations, Lilibet. Lilibet was my badminton partner in a FINEX tournament many years ago. Anyway, congratulations to all the winners. To formally end our GMM, may I call on President Francis for his closing remarks and to adjourn the meeting. Francis?
Hello. Can you put on the video? Okay. Thank you, Ed, for acting as our master of ceremonies, and Malu for ably moderating the forum. It was a very interesting forum. Thank you again, Chair Emil, Commissioners F, Kelvin, and JB. Thank you very much for gracing the occasion. Your presence here is sending a strong message that we are truly supportive of FINEX. Maraming salamat po, no? And with that, I now adjourn the meeting. Thank you. Good afternoon to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Emil.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. It was an honor.
Thank you, Comel. Thank you, Commissioner JP.
Thank you, everybody, to FINEX.
Thank you.
Of course, the SEC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. This one.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.